Hi, you guys. Welcome. My name is Kayla Winters from the Lunar Radiance Wellness Center, and I have my amazing co-host here, Joohong Lange from Reality Switch Coaching. And we are so excited to have you guys on this evening on our live stream, or if you're listening back from the podcast on Spotify. We are so happy you guys are here. Today, we are going to be talking about the amazing book called Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. And we are really excited to dive into this super short, super skinny book, but it has a big, powerful message that I think is just really fitting at the close of the year, the start of a new year, going past the holidays, maybe dealing with family drama, whatever it may be. This is definitely a fun book to jump into. Before we get started, let's take a quick moment to introduce ourselves. So we are Radiance and Reality Coaching, and we are life coaches who go live. Again, I am Kayla. I am a life coach, sound healer, and yoga teacher. And I specialize in working with women who are pushing through burnout and perfectionism, working towards a life of self-love, self-discovery, and self-exploration. And my amazing co-host here, Joohong, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So my name is Joohong Lange, and as Kayla said, I run Reality Switch Coaching, and then my main focus is help people in relationships just get to a better space when it comes to emotional intelligence in their relationships. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything. Just helping people communicate better and be better aware of themselves and how they interact with each other and the world around them. But yeah, and I am super excited about this small but mighty book. I've
Yeah.
taken so many notes. I've highlighted so
Yay.
much. So this was a very great pick. Thank
Yay.
you. Thank you
I'm
for
so
this.
excited. Okay, well, before we jump into this amazing book, Who Moved My Cheese, I just wanted to take a quick moment since this is our last stream of the year, which is
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
This is our 11th stream that we've done. And we have talked about the emotional intelligence audit, how fear impacts communication. We've talked about energy vampires. We've talked about navigating loves, beliefs, and boundaries. The Perfection Trap was our very first book club that we did this year. Amazing book, by the way. Great choice, Joohong. We talked about rest or being forced to rest and burnout. We've talked about how speaking clearly is super important when it comes to communication. We have also talked about hustle culture, and we've talked about making the choice for yourself. And so I think this is really beautiful that we're coming to this conversation about Who Moved My Cheese. And this story really is all about change and whether you're willing to embrace it or not, which it can be a testy one. It can be a testy one. Essentially to have that realization of how we really do get in our own ways on our own journeys. So yeah, Joohong, I want to hear about what your thoughts were. I don't know, just a quick overview of things that jumped out for you from this book. Where to start?
So for me, I mean, in the beginning, like, Dr. Spencer Johnson talks about ask the question, like, who are you in these stories?
Mm-hmm.
But that each of us has a part of each of these characters in ourselves. And I guess the biggest thing that kind of jumped out one of the biggest things was just, we've talked a lot and I've shared a lot about like how my growing up was always just all over the place, and I felt like I had already kind of been set up to be kind of like that sniff and scurry, where I'm very just, okay, things change, all right, let's move on, let's go, like, okay, that's it, whatever it is, and being very aware of when changes may be happening or coming, as I talk a lot about in my life, that once the leases were up, pretty much just moved all the time. So I knew, I mean, I may not have known exactly when, but I knew that wherever we were at, it was not forever. And so we were going to be moving all the time, at least, well, I guess at least twice a year for me, because my mom would move, my dad would move.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was a huge part of it, and being thankful, I guess, that actually that is the case. But then here's the biggest like sting I feel like I felt in reading it, was there's a part in the book where he talks about, I think it's Ha, and when he's going through and he thought that his fears were gone, but actually they were still there and still very prevalent, even if he didn't want to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was just the biggest sting, I would say, where I realized, oh my gosh, yeah, right. Like, and we talk about this as life coaches, right? That look, just because we help you resolve this thing now, that it doesn't mean that it's just gone forever. Like
Yeah.
these problems, these challenges will still come up. It's just you'll be in a better place to actually handle those things. And so those would be the two things that really kind of, I mean, there's the whole book, every
Right.
page, because it's so short. I feel like they did a really good job of just keeping it very focused. And so
Mhm.
every single piece of it was just amazing. And every page was, there was something on almost every page that I was highlighting or writing on a sticky
Mhm.
note and taking notes on. So yeah, it was just
Yeah.
great. It was
Beautiful.
wonderful.
I love that.
Yeah. What about
And
you? What are your like
yeah.
biggest
Well, just
takeaways?
for anyone who hasn't read Who Moved My Cheese, so there's like four main characters in this like little story that they tell, and it's Sniff and Scurry. And this story like takes place in a maze, and Sniff and Scurry are mice, and Sniff is able to like basically know that change, like can sniff out that change is coming and be able to move through it that way. And Scurry is a mouse who just like jumps into action, so when change comes it just jumps in. And then we have him and Ha, which are little human-esque beings, they
Yeah.
describe them as. And Hem is very resistant to change, doesn't want to lean into it, and would rather just stick their feet in the mud, which I think we've all been there. And then Ha is someone who is had their feet in the mud, I would say, but then began to realize, well, sticking my feet in the mud is not getting me anywhere. And so it's about this story about how literally they found cheese and they survive off this cheese and they feel great about their cheese. And then all of a sudden, with realizing or not, the cheese is gone. And what do? Do you stay? Do you keep waiting for the cheese to hopefully maybe return? You don't know. Or are you willing to go into the maze of unknown, essentially, and adapt? And so the story kind of goes off with Sniff and Scurry, the mice, who don't have necessarily the human emotions or intellect, so to say, and they just go off. They just go, it's gone, must move on, must survive. Hem just sits there, waiting, expecting something to change. And Ha kind of goes through this journey of, well, waiting here isn't doing anything for me. And so what should I do now? And goes through this journey of essentially finding cheese. And I love this story because I feel like it provides so many different perspectives of how you can go about change. And I think also ways, I don't know, the pros and cons of them both, right? Or like kind of sees both sides of like, well, why are you waiting? Why are you not? Which I love because sometimes I think we get lost in kind of like the positive mindset or like you just jump in, right? And whatever. But it doesn't really take into like the reality and the hardships of fear and how scary fear really can be and how it can be truly all consuming to a point that you don't even realize that it's happening. And just like the complete lack of awareness that some of us, even though we have the intellect and even though we might even have prior experiences, we still end up in these situations where we are simply like heaming and sitting there with our feet in the mud being like, why is this happening to me? So yeah, I really love this book. I love just the simplicity of it in so many ways and how it can be applied in literally any situation. Frankly, from relationships to work to your passions to just like literally any situation, and how just change is something that you can always rely on. And are you going to lean into it or not? That's, I think, the biggest question here. So I have a bunch of questions here that I am really excited for us to like dive into. And I also really loved, Joohong, like what you were saying about how you like saw yourself as this Sniff and Scurry early in your life.
Yeah.
And how that can be really valuable to have those skills, essentially, even though, of course, that sucks to have had to build those in childhood, but they do have their benefits though, because nothing's worse than being an adult and being like, I have my feet in the mud and having to, I don't know, these life lessons, right? Like they great and they suck. And I think that that's something about this book that I also love, is that it kind of acknowledges it's gonna suck, but it's gonna suck more to just sit there with nothing. So you might as well try.
Yes.
So yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have, like I said, I have so many sticky notes of just thoughts. I've highlighted so much, and yes, I'm excited to
Yay.
talk about this today.
So, is there a point in your life where you were like, I'm him, the person with their feet in the mud? Can you think of a time?
You know, it's funny. I actually, maybe not in the traditional sense of like always being the person who is just from the beginning very well. This is just what I know, and this is what I'm just going to stick with. So I'm going to be convicted on this thing. More for me, the hem part of it is more of after I've made a decision to change, to like scurry, then being just very hem about it and going, well, this is what I've chosen, so I'm gonna do this and it's gonna work out no matter what, even if my cheese is slowly disappearing little bits at a time. I'm going, nope, this is still the right decision. There's nothing I need to do to change. I just need to keep on the path, stay the path, and then eventually, you know, things in most cases I feel like it's been where it doesn't actually pan out and then my cheese is gone, and then okay, maybe then I think in those moments then I am more easily changed to become more like a ha, where it's like, okay, this didn't work out, let me now go find my new cheese. And kind of
Mhm.
like how Toga Eater said, you know, gotta pivot for the cheese.
That's
And
awesome.
so I think that's in those moments where I've been more like a hem, where after I've made the decision, I've scurried, and now this is the only thing. This is it.
Mhm.
Which I was saying it now out loud. I'm going, oh my gosh, no! I need to continuously keep pivoting and say, okay, if this doesn't work, then I need to change and do things. So that would be for me when I've been more of a hem. And as far as maybe a specific time, maybe my life coaching
Like, my
um
whole life.
or you know, my whole business, right, where I'm
Yeah.
like, well, this is it, it's just gonna work out. I'm gonna do what I've been told, and that's it, I'm gonna stick with it.
Mhm.
Here's the writing on the wall, I'm just gonna go with it, that's it. And so, you know, I think, yeah, it's there are a lot of moments in life where I have been very hem like, and yeah, yes, but that is the most recent most recent thing.
Yeah,
But also
nothing
not
like
a bad thing when when your cheese is actually still there and you're still going out, and you know, if your hem thing is that, well, I'm going to continue looking for cheese and still enjoy the cheese that I have and being convicted in that kind of thing. But when things are not going well and your cheese may even be moldy and you don't realize it until after the fact, right? That's when it becomes a problem.
yeah,
How about
absolutely.
you? When have you felt hem like
I
or done hem things? Oh God! For those
the
for
long
those listening on
silence.
the podcast,
Yeah.
Kayla's face just got really really serious, and she's just like
I also really
deadpan.
feel the whole, like, well, my whole life? No, I think, like, for me, one of, like, the biggest, like, standouts in this book has been the whole, like, when they didn't even realize that their cheese was disappearing in the beginning, and, like,
Mhm.
the slow diminish of their cheese, and they're just, like, in the bliss and the, "This is gonna be perfect forever." You
Yeah,
know, I
life will never be
really
bad.
my young adult life, especially, like, I feel like the trick of higher education of, like, go to
But
college, get in debt, you know, that's how
it's
you find
fine
the
because you're gonna make
cheese.
so much money
You're gonna
after
find all
college.
the cheese at the end of this, girl.
Yes.
Just keep going this down this corridor. You're not gonna look a fool. You're gonna have it all figured out, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think that entire, like, journey as a young person, especially, like, being led and, like, I feel like cheered even, like, along that journey of, like, this is the way to go, this is the way to go, and kind of the not even, like, listening to myself, knowing that, like, maybe I shouldn't go this way, but
Mhm.
going that way anyways. I think that that has been, and then when I got there, and yeah, there was cheese for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, like, there was cheese for a little bit, but then when I was realizing, like, well, I don't even really like this cheese, and, like, oh yeah, this cheese is kind of moldy, and
Mm.
starting to have those realizations, and then I definitely had my moment of, like, heme where I'm like, what the hell, you know? And it wasn't even like, and I there's also a part in the book too where, like, Ha is, like, trying to talk to him and be like,
Yeah.
hey dude, like, come on, like, there's got to be something more, and he just, like, immediately turns to anger, right? Like I've definitely felt that way on my journey of like, even with starting my business too, like I've done these things and and I've worked hard and all these things. I should just be able to have cheese forever, right? Like the cheese should just be like,
I worked so hard to get to this cheese
yes,
station. It should
and
just
like,
be
what do you
unlimited
mean
cheese now.
that like I gotta go to the next one? Like, I feel like I really was like raised with this idea that like, and I think this comes back, we've talked about like the American dream and stuff, like if you follow XYZ, you will be successful and like happiness and like all these things, and that like is so romanticized that like that's all that needs to be done. And yeah, so I feel like I've been very heme when working through the maze and getting there and then realizing that it's not what I thought it was going to be, and then kind of having my like breakdown and rotting there for a bit for sure. And diminishing myself and really questioning myself, and I don't even think that I recognized that there was no cheese here that I wanted or was going to give me the satisfaction that I was hoping to get from cheese, so to say. And mind you guys, I know I'm saying cheese a lot. Cheese is like a metaphor for happiness. It's it could be money, it could be anything that you want it to be that provides you satisfaction and success, right? So I think that I knew that this was not going to give me what I wanted, and I still was stuck there anyways. And I was just mad and sad. And then I was like, do I even want to look for cheese anymore? I was like, right? Screw this. Like, what is even the point? I definitely had like, frankly, like really dark moments when realizing and like having those realizations of like that change is inevitable and it happens all the time. And the best thing that you can do essentially is to learn to adapt. And sometimes like, not sometimes, that is a really hard pill to swallow when you've been like told like, oh yeah, if you just work hard and do this and follow the rules, that's all you have to do and then you'll be satisfied. And that's just not the case. So I think that in itself was a fun little journey. But I think, and that's why I love that. That's why I became a life coach, is because I've learned through that you really do have to fall in love with the journey. You have to fall in love with moving through the maze, and you have to be able to find the beauty in that. It can feel so crazy almost, especially when you were, I don't know, raised to think that like you just like cheese is the epitome of existence. And it's actually really like moving through the maze and being able to have those experiences and those journeys that you don't know what's going to come. That in a way is kind of the cheese. That makes sense. The cheese is not the cheese. Is that totally makes sense, right?
The cheese is not the cheese.
Cheese is not the cheese.
There is no spoon. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
So a lot of hem for you.
A lot of hem.
Yeah.
A lot of hem. On a journey to ha.
Well, if you hang around with me enough, it'll happen very often. Don't worry. I love laughing at myself and when things go wrong, and it's just like, well, you know what? That's crazy. Let's figure this out. Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
I do love that about this book too, is like Hall literally is like laughing at himself, which I also really love, because I think that you have to like, otherwise you're just gonna cry, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I was like, you can cry and laugh at yourself at the same time.
Exactly, all of the things at the same time. But I think that laughter like really does like provide some relief and some softness to something that can feel really hard and rough. And I think the more that you laugh and, I don't know, just enjoy it, the better it is. So yeah.
Yes,
yeah. Well, we can jump in whenever we want. Something else. So with that, thinking about ways that we've been heme in our life, how have you created that shift for you into kind of like a more of a ha perspective of being more open to change?
Honestly, I don't think that I really got to the point of being able to laugh at my own misfortunes and mistakes until a lot later in life, because when you're growing up as a kid in America and the school system is very judgmental and very much, well, this is no laughing matter. Like, you failed this spelling test.
Mhm.
You're basically the worst student in the whole school. And so I don't think in the beginning, I might have had it a little bit as a kid where it was just, you know what, whatever, life is that way. It definitely felt more serious if I was to brush something off as a kid.
Mhm.
It was just, well, it is what it is. That's it. But there was no laughing necessarily. And not until later in life, where maybe after college, well, not after college, but I think when I joined the military, that's when it's funny that that seems to be the moment in my life that jumps out at me as far
Mm.
as when I started to really just laugh at the ridiculousness of life and how things that you think are going to happen a certain way, or you planned something and you thought it was going to work out and it doesn't work out. But that was the place where I learned just shit happens and, like, hey, whatever, it's just crazy, right? That we're living in this world and it's doing what it's doing. The world is worlding, like, that's
Mhm.
it. And there's nothing you can do about it. So you might as well just go out having a great time. And I don't know if it's the military's just the idea of, like, you put your life on the line and you might, anything could happen at any second. So maybe that's where a lot of that might have come from. But I think that would be the first time when I really embraced this idea of just laughing at how terrible the world could be, or how misfortunes can actually be very entertaining for you and everyone else. So, yeah, I think that would be the first time
Mhm.
that I felt that way. I think if you would meet me now, like anyone listening to this podcast or whatever, and listening to all the conversations we've had, you would probably go, "Psh, man, you sound like you've always been this way." But like, literally, I mean, that was a while ago, like 10, 15, 16 years ago. But yeah, so that's what I
Yeah.
would say. I don't know. How about you? Do you feel like, I mean, you were very, very much in that hem when we were talking about that. You were like, "Oh my God, this is my life."
Yeah, I
But
mean, I think in lots of ways too, like I like to protect myself, I like was sniffing scurry vibes, but
hmm,
it was very like here to like protect myself, rather than like truly leaning into consciously moving into a place of change with like grace and care and like love on my side, as opposed to like, well, gotta push through. So you you know eat or be eaten kind of vibes. I feel like I moved through life in that ways, or I just had like my feet in the mud. And I think especially with like perfectionism and whatnot being
hmm,
so heavy, like it's not that I was like doing nothing. It's like I was creating this facade. Like I was him creating fake cheese, being like, oh yeah, look at this cheese I have. It's so delicious. And then you bite into it and it's like, styrofoam. Like kind of vibes like that to adapt
yeah.
and fake that things were okay when really I just had my feet in the mud and was freaking out and was like, this is how I think I'm supposed to like deal with this,
Hmm,
even though deep down I knew that it was not working out for me. But I
hmm,
do have to agree that I think with moving into adulthood, like as a kid, like you really just like you have ideas in your head of like what life is going to be like, and you do your best, and then when you become a young adult, like you're really just like thrown into like reality essentially, and that's when like your decisions really have real life impacts, I
hmm.
think, on a different level. I don't know, you finally have that freedom, so to say, and then you get to see how your decisions with that freedom impact you in the long run. So I do think that my journey into college and then post college too, I think really just getting out of education and that kind of safety net and facade of like success, so to say.
Mhm.
A's, B's, and C's do not, D's, whatever, do not necessarily translate into your ability to adapt to real life. And I think getting out of that and really experiencing life in that sense was really when I was able to feel like I had more of a say, or I guess when I began to have that change of like, is this the cheese that I want? Wait, I can actually do something about it. I think a big like saying for me was like, you're gonna suffer no matter what. So what are you going to suffer for?
Right. I think you've said that. I think
Yeah,
in our
I'm sure I have, because that's like
last episode, I
yeah,
think you did
probably.
say that
Yeah, when we're talking about
actually.
hustle culture, right? Like,
Yeah, like you're gonna
this
suffer
plays into that. Like,
anyways.
if
So
you're gonna like move through the maze, you're searching for cheese, you gonna enjoy it or not? Are you gonna hate your life and complain and kick and scream the whole time? Or are you just gonna skip and dance along the way? And I've really just like leaned into the skipping and the enjoying of the process, since having gone through realizing that some cheese ain't all that, and really coming back to like my power, which has been really liberating for me.
Yeah, it's funny. This book reminded me, and I wrote it on a sticky note, and it was just this idea when after Ha leaves the old cheese station C or whatever, and he's going through, and in that part of the book, it talks a lot about how the fear that he was facing when it came to, well, I'm not sure if there's going to be more cheese or not. And then as he kind of went through, he just realized, oh my gosh, those old things that he used to think, they like it didn't end up being true or whatever, and it refreshed this idea in my mind of that. So you have your current situation, you don't have your cheese, there's no cheese, and you have a choice to decide whether you want to think about things from an opportunity perspective or from that fear perspective. Like, you can choose which one you want, and some people choose the fear part, right? But then it's like, okay, but if you have the choice, and no matter what, your current situation is going to be the same and the outcomes could be the same too, then wouldn't you just want to then choose the nice, the more positive, the hey, there's hope here, versus just, well, there's no way, nothing is going to change, this is how it'll be forever, life is just going to suck? Because no matter what, either way, you're going to end up in the same place no matter what. So then why not just choose the path that is the skipping and the music filled, and just, you know what, whatever, laugh when things don't happen how you think, and and enjoy the moments, versus going through life being just this like I don't know why, but the word that comes to mind is like this like curmudgeon, but I don't even know what that word means. Like a curmudgeon. Hold on. Let's do
Need to Google that.
let me do the Webster's dictionary. But you know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what, you can just choose to at least go through it and not be miserable, and not have all those heavy things on your heart, and just go, you know what? Well, I have a choice. I can move forward. Okay, well, how do I want to move forward? Great. And then just choose to move forward in the most positive and wonderful, fun way that you can. If that's possible. I understand some life's, things can be very, where there is just, well, this is just going to be freaking miserable going through. But as a child of divorce, let me tell you, there are still very funny ways you can get through it and figure things out.
Yeah.
So, let's see, definition of curmudgeon. Okay. All right, so this is the Oxford Dictionary. It is a noun, curmudgeon. The plural noun is curmudgeons, just in case, if you wanted to know. And the definition is a bad-tempered person, especially an old one. I don't know why age has a thing, but a bad-tempered person. So, I mean, it's pretty accurate then, And because you've sat there and stressed so much about what choice you're going to make and how you're going to get out of this, you do become a curmudgeon, because then you get older and older and more miserable and bad-tempered, and then you decide, even when your friend Ha comes over to you and is like, look, I found new cheese, look how delicious it is, try some. No, I don't want it, it's not the same. Like,
it's gonna come one day.
Yeah, you just need to be patient and just yeah, anyway. So it's interesting, because there are obviously like a lot of things, with balance, and I tell people, like, I have adopted a very Taoist like view on life. Like, there's a balance to everything, and like, yes, patience can be good, but then inaction in the face of a volcano that is erupting in front of you, you will die. So just do something, run, like, whatever.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's
that was something that came up too during this book, like this question of like when like we can be really valuable at times, but
Yeah.
then to what end, right? And loyalty to a person, to a job, like so many different things. Especially like in our culture, I think that that's become like less popular, at least in the job scene, but maybe in relationship scene too, right? Like there's huge divorce rates, right? Like all sorts of things. Like interesting to think about that. But yeah, like how loyalty to what end? How does it support you staying loyal to whatever belief, idea, lifestyle that you live?
Yeah. When is enough enough?
When is enough enough? Absolutely. So much easier said than done. Is there any cheese in your life that you felt like has been diminishing?
My marriage. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm only saying that because Andrea's asleep right now.
Yeah.
So, cheese that is diminishing. Hard to think of something now because I feel like right now, I mean, this year has definitely been a year of going through the maze and just finding out, okay, look, if it's not this cheese, then this cheese. If it's not that cheese, then this cheese. And, you know, if it's not this room, then it's this room. If it's not that station, then it's this station. Let me figure it out. What exactly am I looking for? And we've talked about this, I think, also in one of the first episodes about this idea that one of my mentors gave of like that there are a million different paths, but they all will lead to the same thing. So no matter what choice you make, whether it's this corridor or that corridor, you will end up in the place you need to end up at the end. And so I feel like in the beginning of the year, there was a lot of cheese that was like running out. A part of it probably the job, like working at Disney as a manager and seeing kind of like I had a great team, thankfully. I am blessed to have had amazing like upper management and stuff. And just seeing like the life balance, the work-life balance just not balancing really. And that even in a place where it was a little bit more relaxed, it's still I would still be there for 12 hours a day sometimes, right? And so, and of my own will, like, not necessarily nobody would have like a gun to my head and was like, you need to
Sure.
stay. But, you know, you want to like help out and you just want to be there for other people, but then you're not there for the people who need you, like your family and things like that, right? I think that was a cheese that was running out. I think life purpose was a cheese that I felt I was fulfilling someone else's life purpose, which a great purpose, like to spread joy and happiness and magic to the world. I love it. I'm here for it. Not in the way that I wanted to, but I didn't realize that until I started this life coaching journey. And then going now from that to okay, maybe that's not the cheese I was really looking for, or that's not the flavor of cheese I was looking for. Oh, there's another flavor of cheese with this like financial education and helping people learn to trade and invest. Like, wow, this cheese tastes really good. Those were okay. This one, same flavor, same like style of cheese, but a slight different flavor. I don't know. I'm not a cheese connoisseur, so just disclaimer, I've had a lot of different kinds of cheeses and I do love a lot of different kinds of cheeses, but so that is one. But those are a few cheeses I feel like that were running out, or maybe the flavor just started to get kind of stale for me and I'm like, okay, how can I really shake things up? And I need to get out of this cycle of just not fulfilling my life's purpose in the way that I want to necessarily. And a little bit also was in my relationship where it was not necessarily like the cheese was running out, but that my cheese was getting moldy and I was the one molding it.
Totally.
And mold like the bad stuff, not like I had my hands and I was like molding it into something beautiful. Cheesing life. I am very cheesy anyways. Oh my gosh. And so like that would be a cheese where I didn't realize I was letting it mold, and then through this whole year and this whole process just learning, okay, look, maybe I need to cut this part of the cheese off. Let me like save this cheese, and then I don't know how cheese is. I understand kind of basically how cheese is made, but then it's like, I don't know. I'm going to use a sourdough thing. So I take some of this like mother dough and then, okay, now I'm going to turn this into a bigger batch of dough
Sure.
for like more. There you go. That's
You
if
want
you
like
can do that with
a
cheese, then
3-layer cheese. Or
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes. I'm gonna
you
find
know?
other flavors, other flavored
Yeah.
cheeses that also go well with my relationship cheese, and then put them
Yes.
together to make a delicious queso dip.
Period.
There you go.
Sorry if you're lactose intolerant listening to this.
Yeah. Well, if you're lactose intolerant, then just imagine that I'm talking about lactose-free
Yeah,
cheeses, like
exactly.
vegetarian
Vegan
cheeses,
cheese.
I've had nutritional yeast before.
Yeah,
That's pretty good, actually. It's pretty tasty. It's not
yeah,
bad. It's a pretty good
I
cheese
agree.
substitute. How about you? Also,
Yeah.
a lot of change and things going on.
Yeah, I think oftentimes as a perfectionist, people pleaser, all these things, I'm like not even trying to get cheese for myself. I'm getting cheese for other people. And then I'm like running through the maze trying to get cheese for others and then burning out and like crumbling in the maze. And then I'm like dragging along,
That's interesting.
falling apart. And then it's like, why are we doing this, girl? I think that in some ways, like that's how it's looked. I really love like so Ha throughout the story, he like writes things on the walls of this maze to kind of share inspiration for him and I think really for himself too. I think he has a moment in the book where he like looks back at all these things that he's written and his growth essentially. And one of my favorite things is like smell the cheese often so you know when it's getting old, right? And we talked about like molding cheese and all of that too.
Yes.
But I think it's really like how often are you really like assessing your situation? How often are you really like looking at what it is that you have? Do you have enough? Is this what you want? Is that like, oftentimes I think that I'm like, this is great. This is good enough, or this is fine or just really settling oftentimes and not truly going after what it is that I want or speaking up for the things that I want because well I have cheese here, why should I try to go find it somewhere else when this is suffice enough. And I think I've had opportunities this year that have brought that to light for me of like, you know what, this cheese, you don't want this. Yet fear has been something to nail down my feet and say, well, maybe if you just wait a little bit longer, if you just, if you're a little more patient, if you, whatever it may be, when at the end of the day, if the cheese smells, it smells.
I mean, all cheese is smelly.
That's true. If it is moldy, it's moldy.
Moldy, yeah. Okay.
And if you can cut off some mold, but only to an extent, and then eventually you're out of cheese.
True.
So yeah, I just really loved, I think it's really valuable for me just like assessing your situation often. There's nothing, even like daily, to just check in with yourself, check in with where you're at with, it can be your relationship, it can be your job, it can be your financial situation. It literally can be like, do I have hobbies? That assessing and that awareness is so crucial to, I think, if you can get ahead of the curve, you got to start there by simply assessing to know what it is that you have and how you want it to be different. So that's been, I think, a like lesson that I've learned many a times, but I needed to learn it again this year. That I think has really stuck with me. So yeah.
I mean, that one, I just, again, it's just this great like quote that the unexamined life is not worth living, and it's just like, yeah, if you never smell your cheese to make sure that it's not getting old,
right,
or that it's even the cheese that you actually still want, then what are you even doing? Like,
right, like coming back to like awareness and power and choice and how valuable it is and how we can literally just be like, just going along because this is what you're supposed to do, or this should be enough for you, or this is what you were told success is, or is the best cheese, and you're like, this tastes horrible, right?
Yes.
But if you don't take the time to ask yourself and say like, is this it?
Yeah.
And then you got to start there before you're even going to get into the maze. You got to start there.
Yes, I need a maze of steak or hamburgers or or cheeseburgers. Sorry, cheeseburgers. Yeah, and I think too, like a great point too, right, is like you said, like it's almost when other people are saying, "Hey, this is the cheese you want," you can say no. Say, you can try a little bit, see, and then go make your decision, right? Whether you like it or you don't. You don't have to accept all the cheese that you're given.
Yes.
There's a lot of different cheeses out there. Lots of that part I know about cheese. There's a lot of cheeses out there. You don't have to just go for the sharp cheddar. You can get some Gouda, you can get some blue cheese, you can get some feta, like, to each their own. Everyone has a cheese for them.
Yep. And it's really like, what is your flavor? What is your, and if, yeah. And something that I think is so cool too, like, we don't even know how many cheese stations there are out there. Like, they, you know, I think where they found their initial cheese was at cheese station C.
Yeah.
And I think that when Ha found cheese again, it was at station N. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, N, that's it. Like, how many more are there out there, right? That like have yet to be explored, have yet to be. And I think that that's just such like a parallel to life. Like, there's so many beautiful things in this world, so many opportunities, so many just chances to experience greatness and beauty. And yet we will just stay at station C. What? And it could be like, you know, even after station Z, there could be like station 1, 2, 3, 4, infin, you know, but we just tend to settle for what is in front of us. And, you know, that is because like we're here to survive, right? Like we want to take care of ourselves. But if we know that if we keep searching, that was like another thing that was written on the walls by Ha was movement in a new direction helps you find new cheese. And if you continue to move, like you're going to eventually find cheese, whatever it is. Like if you have that momentum and that movement, like you're going to find it. It's just, do you have the strength mentally to be able to go out there and be willing to experience it?
Yeah. I mean, and even when he left Cheese Station C, he was already weak and like tired and still decided, hey, I'm still going to go look for new cheese. And then realized, oh my gosh, if I had just not spent all of this time being stubborn and afraid, I could have done this search in a way better mood and energy and would have been so much easier, and he probably would have already found the cheese by the time like all of these things. And it was just because then he gets to that first, not cheese station end, but like he finds a cheese like room, but then there's only just those nibbles left over, because Snip and Scurry had already probably gotten to that, because as soon as they started realizing, oh my gosh, this cheese is going away, they're like, hey, let's go find some new cheese, and they already beat them to that. And so, like, I think that too, that even when you are tired or you feel like, oh, it's too late for me, or there's no way, I've already been in this terrible relationship for 15 years, I can't start over, I'm just gonna sit in here and hem about it. Like, okay, well, guess what? No, you can still move on.
Yeah.
Like when people get out of their marriages at like after 60 years and people are like, what are you doing? That's crazy. It's like, well, you know, like things just happen and they don't want to be together anymore. Like, that's fine. Like, why do we make it so terrible that like, it's like, look, no, you have to be together forever. It's like, look, sometimes you get in a relationship, you get married and you're like, damn, this was not the right, this is not it. And instead of sticking into it for all those years, I mean, you know, obviously, you work on it, you try to get better. But if things don't change, then like, girl, get out. Like, you got a whole life to live.
A whole life.
Just because you're in this relationship for 10, 15, 20 years doesn't mean that you have to stay. And then that's all that time that you're wasting on, you could have been finding the other person, the person that's really going to, you know, your real nice flavor of cheese that you're really looking for. You know, because some people, they just get into things too early and they just don't realize, and then just it's just, anyways. So yeah, even if you are tired and all that, you can still, it's just movement. He doesn't say fast movement, he doesn't say anything about what kind of movement, just any movement in a new direction will help you find that new cheese.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be a relationship, obviously. It can be other things too. It can be a job, it can be
anything.
whatever. I'm not telling people to, you know, get out of your relationships.
Take it as you will.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes. We all screw up. We all mess up. We all go into a corridor we're not supposed to, whatever. But had you not, then you wouldn't have known whether or not that's for you.
Yeah.
So take the chance. It's worth it.
If you're in the chat and you agree, hey, look, it's never too late. Just, you know, start a new direction. Like, please feel free to put a 1 in the chat if you agree. Because, you know, we all out here, we all hustling, trying to, you know, find our cheese.
Absolutely. I love that like excuse too. And of
you
like,
love that excuse?
I'm the excuse of like, I'm too old for this, or like, I should know this. or whatever it may be. Like, I love those excuses of why you can just heme around about something. You're never too old. You're never like, we are imperfect beings that are here to mess up and make mistakes and be messy. And the best thing that we can do is just invite grace into the space and laugh and just say, like, I'm just here to figure it out. I'm here to run through. And how much more fun is it to do that than to just be angry, frankly? So much more fun.
Yeah. I think
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say something that I really love too is there's like a lot of imagery that Ha went through in this book of like imagining themselves like getting to the new cheese and imagining themselves having like a great time and envisioning and whatnot. And I just loved that because you do NLP and the subconscious work. And I thought that that was like a perfect parallel of like how important it is to like envision and to truly like see these things as you're working towards them, right? So
Yeah.
I wanted to get your thoughts on it since you are the NLP master over here.
I am a master practitioner. Is this true?
To see how that landed for you, or if anything came up for you there.
Oh my gosh, like it's funny because that was one of the next thing I was going to talk about too. I absolutely loved it, and I was not expecting it because I don't know. In my mind, I'm just like, man, who knows about like vision boards and doing all that stuff, whatever. And so, for those of you who have not read it, I obviously highly recommend that you get this book. It's not very expensive. I'm pretty sure it's like what, $15 maybe at the most, I think.
I don't even think.
So in the book, as Ha's going through, and even in the beginning, he starts to imagine what having that new cheese will be like, and in great detail, like how is the cheese going to taste? What is he going to look like? How is he going to be smiling and like all of the energy flowing into him? It's going to be great, like all of these things in great detail. And that is usually the part of manifestation that people get. They're like, cool, yeah, like I have it already. What does it look like? How do I feel? But then we always talk about your subconscious, it communicates in sounds, images, and feelings. So you have to have all three of those things. You can't just imagine what it looks like. You have to imagine, how does it feel? Like, how satisfied will your stomach be when you get that cheese? Like, or how will you feel when you're embracing that new loved one? Or how you feel when you're walking through those doors of your new job and all that stuff. What do you look like? How do you look? What are you dressed like? What does the office building look like? What does the place that you meet your new significant other look like? Whatever. All these things. What does it sound like? What are the sounds that you're hearing? Are you saying anything to yourself? All those things. So the book, it just lightly kind of touches on that, but it brings it up a lot, which I love. The part that people usually miss is the fact that he was already taking physical action to get the thing. You have to take that physical action. If you do not take any action on this physical plane of existence, nothing will happen. Right? Like you and I, as life coaches, whatever, a yoga instructor, all the things, like we cannot just sit in our rooms and just go, oh, what is it going to be like when all these people show up to my sound bath on Saturdays? Like, okay, yeah, you can do that. But then if you don't actually go find the place to do it, set it up and send invites and promote it and do all these things, like nothing will happen. People will not just go, I feel like I should go to this weird random place and sit in a sound bath and whatever. Like, no, people don't do that. You have to do the action here on this physical plane. That's usually the part that people miss. In NLP, we also take it a little step further, because what we also want to make sure is that when you are doing this manifestation work, that it is like as if you are doing it, but your unconscious mind is so efficient, not lazy, is he so efficient that when you imagine that you have it, your unconscious goes, okay, cool, look, we had it, done. That's it. We don't need to do any physical work anymore. We already got it. So what we usually do is so we have you do all of that imagery work, and with you looking through your own eyes, and you're seeing the things, hearing the things, feeling the things, all the things, everything. And then we have you now freeze frame it and pull yourself out of it. So now you're third person viewing it, and you see yourself in the picture. And this dissociation is then what causes this, what we call this rubber band effect, where now your unconscious mind goes, oh, wait, no, we had it. Why don't we have it anymore? And then you're consciously well, yeah, because we don't actually have it. And I need you to understand that unconscious mind while we are setting up for how it's going to be when we're going to get there. And then so your unconscious mind goes, okay, great. Like, so we don't actually have it. Okay, so let me now do the work, like the unconscious work of changing our behaviors, changing our beliefs, changing our everything, all the things, to now put us towards and on that course for this new cheese that we're going to be having.
Absolutely.
So that is also like a big thing. And details, like excruciating details. We usually use the idea of like a GPS, right? Like I tell people, look, when you go into your GPS, your Apple Maps or whatever, your Google Maps, all the things, and you type in an address, well, you don't just type in the number of the building. You type in the whole address, because like I could type in 111 and that might be the right number, but there's a lot of buildings that have 111, right? So
Right.
you have to be very specific in that way too. And I love that in the book he says always in detail, like these are the things. And the fact that he is already making movement towards the thing, and as he's moving physically through the maze, that he is imagining all those things. So yes, it was wonderful to see. I was like, blessed, this is great. Again, he doesn't go into super detail about it, and I think The Secret is kind of the same way, where it's like they don't go into super detail about it. They just talk about, look, this is kind of what the idea is,
Right.
but they leave out a lot of those key things.
Sure. Yeah,
Which is fine,
absolutely.
because this book has a lot. It's not about manifestation, it's about how to deal with change. So but
Absolutely.
yeah,
And how to
so
get to a place where you are like, you can really like get past the fear and be able to really step into what it is that you are looking for. And if you
yeah.
aren't able to embody that, aren't able to see that, how are you going to you don't even know what you're going towards. So I think that having those
Yes.
visualizations and being able to step into that person who has that cheese, whatever it may be, really becomes that compass for you of the actions that you're now taking are in alignment with that. And then all of a sudden that door opens up, that corridor, now, because you've done XYZ to get here, and that has now unlocked this knowledge to get to this place, right? Like it really becomes this like beautiful domino effect when we can truly learn to trust the process.
Yes.
Which it's again so much easier said than done. It really comes down to learning to trust yourself and rebuild that trust to be able to, I think, let the fear fall aside. I know to be able to let that fear fall aside, you have to rebuild that self-trust to be able to envision, to be able to have the confidence to say, like, this is where I'm moving. And regardless of the outcome, I know I'm moving towards greatness in some capacity or another, which is just a beautiful place to be. It really is, especially when you get to a place too where you're able to fall in love with that, start to see the fruits of that process, which is just fantastic. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And it's so funny too. Well, it's funny. It's all great. And because one of the other things that I loved, and he just kind of mentions it, but doesn't really talk too much about it.
Sure.
And it's this idea that as Ha was going through the journey, that he was finding little pieces of cheese along the way. And it immediately made me think of how we've been talking in this podcast, this live stream, about these little wins, small goals.
Yes.
And that will give you that momentum to then finally get to that big thing. And so that was just, I feel like it's just such a small part in the book where he just goes, oh yeah, like, by the way, like, yeah, he's finding these little cheese, and then he's getting more like, not invigorated, but he's starting to get more
Energized.
confident and more energized because he's finding these little pieces of cheese as he's moving in this new direction. And so like those are the things too, like I think when people are going to be moving in that new direction, it's like, okay, know that your wins in the beginning may not be huge wins because things sometimes take time, but celebrate those little moments of those little wins, those little goals that you're hitting. Because movement in a whole can feel like you're moving a cruise ship, like trying to turn a cruise ship, which takes forever. But but like those little wins of like, all right, cool, now we're like just slightly more on course. Okay, we're slightly more on course. Now we're slightly more on course. Like, celebrate those things, because it will be like that, especially if you're trying to make huge moves in your life, in a whole aspect of your life.
Yeah.
So that was like something so small in there that I was like, I love this too. This is so great. That was a little tangent, but
No, that was
also
beautiful. I
really,
love that
really
idea of
good.
like turning, because like, I mean, even just driving, I feel like we always come to driving analogies. Even with driving, like you can't just like skirt, you know, like you could flip your car, like
True.
not good things come from like rash action. It comes from soft little tiny turns that lead to those bigger turns. And that's something too that I think is a big theme in this book, is like noticing how these small little bits really do lead to these bigger changes, and just major confidence with this too. And thinking about like NLP and your subconscious mind, I also loved just his recognition that like these old beliefs that you have will not yield you to this new cheese, and really having to like shed that and let, like, it's literally like a weight holding you down as you move through the maze that is not supporting you on your journey, and how important it is to have to be able to release that weight and these shields that we think might be protecting us, and let them go, to truly allow yourself to, maybe like that those old beliefs are preventing you from even imagining, from even being able, maybe you're able to imagine but you're not able to embody. Like the subconscious brain is like, we see that you're trying to make these changes, but we're still letting this fear hold on to you. And just like, we have to be able to release the old to truly be able to get into the new. So if that isn't a great message for this, leaving everything in this past year to be able to step into the new year with new energy and the search for cheese that we truly want and desire.
Yeah. There's a great quote. Let me double check who it's from. I'm pretty sure people say it's from Henry Ford, but I'll verify that. But the quote is that the system that caused the problem cannot be the system that solves it. And I say it all the time. And it's exactly that. Like, if your old beliefs didn't get you the success you wanted, then clearly some of those beliefs probably aren't going to help you get to that new thing. Like, but I think a lot of people then get stuck in that hem where it's just, but this is what I've always been told, and or this has worked for other people, but maybe other people aren't sharing with you, well, I actually did tweak some things, or well, I actually did these other things too, like that really benefited me and helped me make this new change. And so again, yes, like, and then changing belief systems, changing values, your identity, and adopting new beliefs, identity, and values will help make larger changes, whether it's a diet, whether it's whatever, anything like that. Also, again, like that NLP, this whole book is like NLP, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's just, yes, like you have to shed those old beliefs, and it's like beliefs, behaviors, and maybe it's something else. It's like this kind of thing that where they just kind of feed into each other in like this loop in the circle. Results, that's what it is. Behaviors, results, and beliefs. That your behaviors will get you results, and your results will reinforce your beliefs, and then your beliefs will give you your behaviors, and then it just kind of goes in the circle. But you have to change like one at a time, like as you're going through. You can change all three, but sometimes people find that to be very difficult. But like if you start changing one, and then when you run into those new behaviors, then it's like, okay, this is interesting, and then just kind of give it some time so you can get new results. And then once you start getting those new results, then your beliefs that you had in the beginning will now finally feel like, yes, I did believe the right thing. But only if you're getting the results that you want. So like making those changes, 100%. Like, yes, it was beautiful to see that in there too.
So good. I love that. And it just circles back to like, you gotta assess, you gotta, like, everything that we've been talking today is so crucial to be able to really embrace and like have power when it comes to change that happens. So yeah, so cool. So cool. I wish I knew this before, right? But let me take a minute to let that go and know that I know it now, and know that I'm on my way to chasing new trees now that I have this newfound knowledge, right? because that's the only way that you're going to be able to move forward. If you keep holding on to, oh, I wish, or I could have, or I should have, all those things, it's like, what I can do now is this.
Yeah. Yep. You gotta let go of that oldie moldy cheese.
Old and moldy.
Oldie moldy.
It
Oldie moldy cheese.
loves to cling on.
Yes, it does, and it smells really, really bad.
It does. It can be stanky, and the stank can chase you.
Yes. Let's see. What other things are really great in here?
I also, something that I love too about Ha and his willingness to like document his journey, really, with writing these messages on the walls. So he wrote, we've talked about some of them, right? Of like, if you don't change, you become extinct. What would you do if you weren't afraid? Smell the cheese often so you know when it's getting old. These are some of the many messages that he wrote on the wall. And I think it's just like an ode to sharing your journey can be so powerful. And also how it is a way for you to be able to truly see how far you've come. Because he started with like, I need to change, right? And then he recognized the fear that was taking place, like this beautiful journey that he went through. He might not have been able to see all the little pieces and all the bits that were going on for him if he hadn't taken that time to write it down, to share it, to document it, whether he knew that it was for him in the future or not. Journal, take the time to document. I mean, I love that we're doing these lives because it's like our way of like documenting our journeys, you know? It's our way of writing on the wall, which is like so cool because not everyone has that in such a public way, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to be so public as starting a podcast or a live stream or whatnot, right? It can literally just be you in a notebook, right? Or sticky notes on your wall. Like it can look like so many different things, but to be able to have something that you get to look back on and be like, wow, look at how far I've come. Look at all of those times that I went into the maze and did the hard thing and allowed fear to step aside. It just reinforces again that self-trust and that confidence and the courage to go searching for the cheese, which I think is so powerful and such, again, like another one of those like smaller messages within this book that I just loved so much, of ways to, I think, find joy in growth.
Yeah. I mean, even as Haw's going through the maze, like it always talks about like, oh man, and he's starting to like remember like, oh, this is what he loved in the beginning, was just the search for it and the journey, like that he just fell in love with the journey. And I love that you said that in the beginning of the episode, like that, you know, it's like the cheese is not the cheese, it's like the journey is the cheese.
Yes.
And it's like, yes, because that's what he talks about, that like, yes, the journey itself was the thing that he enjoyed the most. And yes, the cheese is great because that's the goal, the end game. But that the continuous looking for the cheese is like, that's the great thing. It's like avoiding the stagnation of, okay, cool, like now I got it. Because when they first got to that cheese room and they go, like, I think they just left their shoes off or whatever, they didn't even like care. They were like, oh, we found it, we're good, we don't ever need to look again. But then Sniff and Scurry, like, I think they were the ones who originally put their shoelaces, they tied their shoelaces, put it around their neck just in case they were gonna have to look for more cheese. Like, and then when he does it at the end, and then the mice are like laughing at him, whatever. They're like, oh, like he gets it now. And like it was so good. One thing that I wrote down here on my sticky notes. So I did like take like a bunch of like sticky notes and stuff. Well, I wanted to write on the book, but then a part of me was like, oh, I want to kind of like preserve it, but I did end up highlighting and stuff. You know, like if I ever give this book to someone, I don't want them to just focus on what I highlighted or what I wrote. But anyways, so one of the things I wrote in here on page 42 was like, our focus on being clever instead of practical ends up creating more problems and work for ourselves. And then we end up trying to find shortcuts, because this is when they were like, at the end, they finally were almost like, okay, you know what? Maybe the cheese is on the other side of this wall. And then so they start like breaking through the wall and creating a hole and getting so tired. And I'm just like, you know, how often we do that, where it's just, look, because now we feel like we've missed the bus, like we have to now put ourselves through so much struggle just to because we feel like, okay, look, we just gotta outthink them, outthink the
Yeah.
universe, and then we'll do it. It's like, bro, like the universe, God, whatever, all the things is they don't even doesn't even care. Like it's not like that serious. Like why do we think that it's so intentionally against us or whatever? You know what I mean? And so like yeah, if
I
we would
loved
have
that
just
part.
started searching when we should have in the beginning, then we would have our new cheese. And as someone who enjoys like trying to be clever and figuring out other ways of doing things, it was an interesting thought because I was like, well, I mean, being clever is awesome. It means you're smart, like you're
You're
quick-witted,
like,
you know,
not
this is
me.
yeah, like this is what people
How
should
very
dream
human.
of
Yep.
being. Yes, exactly. And so, and like right now I'm listening to the Odyssey, and like Odysseus is the Greek hero, is very clever and smart. And so that kind of coming to that realization that yeah, but sometimes we can be too clever and think like that things are more complicated than they actually are. And they talks about that in the end of the book too, like, or the end of the story, that you know, why do we overcomplicate things that are actually very simple? And then right now it's also making me think of this idea where I was talking with my wife, like Andrea, about like it's so funny because I notice that students at the academy, what they'll do is they'll take very complicated things and oversimplify them
Mm.
to the point where it's like, no, actually, it's a little more nuanced than that. But then they'll take these really simple things and way overcomplicate it. And it's like, why? Just no, like, just look, simple is simple, complicated is complicated. Keep them in their own lanes. But it's like, I think people have this tendency to do this where we flip flop the two. And I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on that? But also anything like about the book. Obviously, we're here to talk about the book, but just this kind of idea that it talks about overcomplicating things.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just like, yeah, like I just think about like, you know, the whole time like you could have been spent looking for cheese, right? And they're like banging holes in walls and it's doing nothing. It's like perfectionism, taking styrofoam, turning it into cheese. You're still starving, you're still uncomfortable, but I gotta look like I'm good enough, right? Like all of
Mm,
these different ways that we love to like fluff and try to make ourselves feel better rather than just like accepting reality for what it is. Like we are so resistant to acceptance and in so much denial. And I even at the end of this book, they like this whole story comes from like this guy sharing it with like a I think it's like a high school reunion group or whatever from high school or something. They're like
yeah.
getting together. And someone asked, they're like, who's afraid of change? And like one person raises their hand. And then they're like, who thinks that everyone's scared of change? And then like everyone raises their hands and it's just like affirming the idea that like we're all in denial that we're afraid of change, but like
Yeah.
we're able to recognize that everyone's afraid of it, right? And oh, like how we like really trick ourselves. Trick. And then again, for what? To feel like we're doing something more than we are. Again, hard pill to swallow, especially like when you're using that to make yourself feel stable and secure. Oof, been there. It hurts. It does not feel good. But the sooner that you're able to just recognize, like, what am I doing? And sometimes I think it's really helpful to, it really is helpful to talk to other people, to share, to let people in on like where you're at on your journey or what you're doing or whatnot.
Mhm.
Because sometimes it can take that person to be like, why don't you just do it like this? You know? But again, fear, ego, all the things gets in the way of us being able to just like see the truth for what it is. So frustrating. Been
Mm.
there, done that. Like I was cracking myself up. I was writing a list of I just completed the 6-month coaching program,
Nice.
which
Yeah.
was like so exciting. And
Yes.
like I was like, I
Congrats. Yeah.
can't believe like 6 months. And so we do like a SMART goal and all the things. And I didn't achieve the goal that I set out, but yet I was able to write down like 25 things that I like had accomplished within that 6 months. And I was like, and I started offering sound baths and I started like this whole podcast and we have like 11 2-hour, you know, and yeah, I could still focus simply on like the fact that I didn't meet this goal that I like set out, right?
Hmm.
And so anyways, all that to say, one of the items that I had put on there is I started seeing a mentor, and I was really proud of myself because I was really scared to see this mentor because I didn't want them to see me as a failure, even though the reason why I was getting a mentor was to help me.
True.
But yet I wasn't willing to let the mentor help me, right? What the hell?
Yeah, that's
What the hell?
yeah,
It's
that's
like going to the
interesting.
doctor and not telling them that you're sick. And then it's like,
But
how
you're
are they
here.
supposed to help you
Yeah,
if you're not willing to admit that you're sick, right?
yeah,
Like, again, like perfectionism, all
yeah.
of these things run so
That
deep.
that's
Ugh.
crazy. Yeah,
To the point that like you're not even like you have like the help is there, and yet we're so like have been so willing to like stick my feet in the mud, and then I did it and it went amazing, and it wasn't as bad, and they didn't chew me up, and they were like proud of me and all the things, right? And now, like, I'm on a direction for finding new cheese because I was willing to let that ego, that fear, all those things go. But had I not,
yeah,
I'm just nibbling on the moldy cheese, or I don't have any cheese. I'm over here trying to bust a hole in the wall thinking that I'm going to get further when really that conversation was like, well, you just need to go left, you
yeah,
know? Like it can be that simple. But yeah, we love to overcomplicate. Love. Yeah. In what ways? We'd love to hear from you guys in the chat if there's any ways that you have overcomplicated or allowed yourself to have moldy cheese or whatever it may be. And again, like we're all like, I think every single person is guilty of this, right? So what way? Yeah, curious to hear what anyone else has like experienced and the ways that they've allowed themselves to settle, to be in fear, frankly.
yeah. Or if y'all have questions too, please feel
Yeah.
free also. And then for anyone listening on the podcast, if you have questions, email us.
Yeah.
We also have our Instagram and Facebook. We have our YouTube as well. You can go on our YouTube channel and go on the live and post a comment on there, a question, all the things. So if you have any questions or have any thoughts, please share those as well. You know, it's
So
funny.
yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna
No,
just like when you
go.
said that, actually, it was when you brought up the doctor thing, I was like, that's crazy because it's almost like I don't want my doctor to think I'm unhealthy. So I'm just gonna lie about my health and say like, oh no, I'm feeling really great. Like, you know, and you go for like your yearly, hopefully you go for
Mm-hmm.
your like yearly checkup and everything. But it's like, yeah, like why do we like why don't we say, well, you know, I've been having this weird like pain over here, or I've been having this, and it's like, and
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, I think I know why, but yeah, the idea of like, well, I don't want my mentor to think that I don't have it all together,
Right.
even though that's literally the reason why
The
you have
point.
your mentor, and your
Right.
mentor wants to help you like figure out all your
Right.
things.
Because
But
the
it is
reality is
crazy
we
that we have
all
that.
have challenges and are experiencing
Yeah.
change all the time. But again, are like in denial that this is happening. And like, I mean, it's even to the point, right? Like, even like you go to the doctor, like, I grew up like not even going to the doctor because of the excuse of like, oh, we don't have time or like whatever. Like, life's just too busy that you like don't even go. Right. And
Yeah.
it's like, what when the resources are there, like sometimes like literally like cheese could be sitting there and they're like, you can be like, well, I don't like that cheese, so you've never tried it, or whatever story you've told yourself as to why you are rejecting support, care, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We do our best, and now here we are learning tools to do better.
True. Yes. And one little step at a time.
Yeah. Okay, I did have some scenarios.
Okay.
And I have one that I feel like is like, I feel like kind of relevant for you, having gone through like this scenario is called the identity crisis. And I'm not saying that you had an identity crisis, but you did go through this year, like
Maybe.
quitting Disney, going through like starting a business and like, you know, experiencing different roles, and like your cheese has been moved a lot. So this scenario is you lose a job title, relationship, or role that you built your life around. Who are you when the label disappears?
Wow.
Just a little heavy.
Just a little
Well,
light conversation.
yeah.
You know, it's crazy because I actually did feel this way when I left Disney. because I noticed that even on my social media, a lot of my friends are all people from Disney. A lot of Facebook groups I was in were all Disney Facebook groups, like for employees, right? So I actually did kind of have I still kind of have it where I'm just like, oh man, I want to like, I don't know, message people or whatever, but everyone I know is just working at Disney. Like, I don't really have I do have some friends who are like life coaches, right? Obviously.
Sure.
And now with this new job, I have people who are in this like financial world that I'm able to talk to, and it did definitely like, who was I when the label disappeared? I felt like nobody. Like my whole life had just been so revolved around Disney, and not just working there, but consuming the content and just all of these things. That going to Disneyland was like such a big thing, and it was just such a part of my life. And just today, talking with my sister about the time when, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, when we went for her birthday, and I did this whole like little like button ceremony with her and stuff, and I did a whole like record the whole video and everything. And so leaving that as an employee, but kind of like, we don't have passes, so it just felt like I was kind of nobody, even though I just started this huge, like, now I'm Joohong Lange, life coach, here we go. It still felt very like empty, I guess, in that way, when I'm seeing everybody post things about, oh, work, and oh my gosh, I just did this thing with Disney, and oh my gosh, we just did the like 5K, and we just did this, and like what, all of these things. And I'm just like, man, definitely, again, I think kind of like seeing that was like my station C, my cheese station C, where I'm like, oh man, well, maybe I could just like go work there again. Or no, I need to go this path. I need to stay on this new movement. I need to keep going down these corridors. I will find my cheese. And so, yes, and then throughout the year, which thinking like, well, life coaching was the new cheese, and then learning, oh, well, I could also learn to day trade and make more money that way, and use that as a vessel for my other things like life coaching. And so then it was like, okay, well, actually, this flavor of cheese is more enticing now, and I want to really focus on just work, and I find more of this cheese. It's like financial cheese, I guess. And then I really had to think about, well, what was it that I really wanted in life? And now that I had this freedom to like, well, now life can really be whatever I want it to be, because I can choose kind of now, right? And then when I set it in my mind more of, well, I really want to have freedom of time. Like, that was one of the biggest motives for starting my own business. So it's having my freedom of time. And then it was providing for my family and building a future, like all of those three things. And so what thing was going to come my way? What cheese was I going to find in this maze where it's a lot of unknown? Like when Ha is walking through and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm having to go through like unknown parts of this maze now. I don't know how this feels. It's kind of
Terrifying.
scary. I could always go back to my comfort, although going back to my comfort will be a little bit harder, because it would have been like, well, I have to apply and hopefully there's a job, all those things, which I think kind of helped me maybe to like continue on this path. And like now I've found it. But I don't know, again, like I used to answer the question, who are you when the label disappears? Maybe because it's so, well, I guess, I don't know. I guess this would be the perfect time to talk about it, because it's so early in that time, even though it feels like centuries ago. And I keep forgetting that, it was just this year, like 10 months ago, not even 8 months ago. It feels like forever ago. And I think when I found out, I guess, who I was when the label disappeared would be someone who wants to make a large impact in people's lives, like regularly, like in their lives, not just to be the escape from life. And I wanted to be the person who could go on vacations and again, like do whatever I want to do, kind of, and afford whatever I want to afford, which I have also gotten that now. And the third thing of like now providing for my family, well, now my wife doesn't have to work. Like I've kind of taken on that part where now I'm like, well, I want to provide wholly for my family, so she can, hey, she wants to work, she can work, but she doesn't have to. She can go do something artistic, she can whatever. And like now I've assumed this role, I guess you could say. So I think when you like take a step back, I don't think you have to quit your job to really feel this or to reflect like this, although it is definitely very helpful, because it makes it
It
real.
makes it real easy to
Makes
say.
it Yeah, who am I without this thing now? I think it's really good to take a step back and just to really reflect on how does your job align with who you are, and are you making these friends at your job just because, well, it's just we just work there, so it's just like convenience. But yeah, because I think even when I was there, I try to get to know people outside of their roles, whether they worked under me or like in concert with me or they were above me. Like I wanted to learn more about who they were as people, like outside of Disney. So yeah, but I don't know. That's I guess how I would answer that. I mean, for you and your journey, like going from student and then like all of the work that you were doing and like just really what it sounds like you like losing yourself in work because you're just like I just need to like produce. Like how did that feel for you? I guess going from that to now I'm a business owner.
Yeah. I think what I really found out is that, like, at the end of the day, labels don't really matter and labels are temporary. So, as much as you want to cling on to them as like a source of stability or legitimacy for who you are as a person, they don't matter and they're not going to be there forever. And what I learned through losing my labels is that I really just have to fall in love with who I am and know myself. It forced me to get to know myself for who I am. Who is Kayla? What is Kayla like? What does Kayla enjoy? What gets me going? What leads me into the maze? What fears do I have? All of these things. I think that labels really clouded my vision. And still to this day, I think labels are a really great way to make you feel like you have the cheese when maybe you don't. You know, or like it's like the fancy French cheese that blah 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 is triple whatever, and like that sounds really cool. That's great, but is that truly what you want, what you desire? Is that really like, is that enough for you at the end of the day? Like, and when that is gone, are you gone too? I think it's really like allowed me to like release the hold that labels had on me for so long, and to be able to go into the maze knowing that I might have this label for a little bit, I might have it for a long time, but like at the end of the day, like I get to choose what that looks like, and that it doesn't, my value doesn't change based on the cheese that I have, if that makes sense. So yeah, again, easier said than done, still working on that journey. I mean, shoot, I started a whole nother business while starting a business. Grabbing all these labels along the way, right? And more does not equal more necessarily. Yeah, well, labels do not equal worth. Labels do not equal success. Yeah, I think the identity collapse is so helpful in a world that relies on them for value. So yeah. So now like, and like you get, and anybody, I think that's also something that I learned on like my journey as a life coach when I like first decided, because like before, like I thought like you had to apply for jobs and you had to like become worthy of these titles or whatnot. Like you can be whatever you want. You want to be a magician? Go be a magician. You want to become whatever it is that you want, like you become that. Like that's what me starting my first business was like all about for me, was like me being able to like choose what it is, like choose the cheese that I was searching for, right? And like make the actions in alignment with that. And I got to pick it now. I wasn't in desperation searching and grabbing for whatever was willing to, you know, like whatever. I was no longer desperate and I had choice now. And it was really fun when I created my first podcast with my sister called Just Say No Podcast. It was so cool because I had gone through that journey of like deciding what it is that I wanted and who I could be and like what was my label, right? And you know, even like the Lunar Radiance coaching, right? Reality Switch coaching, like those are things that we got to like pick and choose to like label and identify with, right? And my sister was 18 at the time, had just like graduated high school, pandemic is going on, and I'm like, Kelly, who are you going to be? You get to go on this podcast and you get to say, who is it that you are? Like you just created this whole thing. Like you're a creative director. You're like you are these things and you have the opportunity now to like claim them. And it was just like so, I don't know, as a big sister, such like a cool moment for me because I had to go and embark on that journey myself. I didn't have somebody that said, like, Kayla, you get to be whoever you want to be. I had to go through many dark corridors and wrong turns and moldy cheese to get to a place where I was like, hold on, I get to pick this, you know, and to be able to, and I mean, that's why I love life coaching too, is to be able to like look at someone in the eyes and truly tell them, like, you get to pick your cheese. You have what it takes. Like, you are enough was just such like a powerful moment. So yeah. So that's my 2 cents on labels and when they disappear and when your cheese leaves.
Well,
What are
this
your
leads
thoughts?
me, huh?
What are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I mean, I am very grateful to have had people in my life who were very much already very like, well, you can pick your cheese. My mom talks about it all the time about how she wanted to make sure that no matter what it is that I wanted to do, and my dad did as well, like whatever interests I had. One year I wanted to learn to play the saxophone and be in band, and they were just like, okay, here you go.
Oh,
And I
that's
did
so
it for
cool.
maybe a month or two, and then I was like,
Sure.
okay, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And then same thing with like the guitar, and then I did this like in the malls. They were doing this like model acting search thing, whatever.
Yeah, I
And
totally know what you're talking
it
about.
was kind of expensive to do, but my mom was just like, well, if you really want to do it, okay, fine, like let's do it. I had a blast and nothing really came of it, but she was like, all right, just go do it. Thankfully, my parents didn't push me too much to pick a cheese that they wanted for me. So no, like, well, go become a doctor. No, well, you should do this, you should do that. They were very just, well, whatever you do, just make sure you can take care of yourself kind of thing. Cool.
Mm.
Great. Wonderful. And then I had other mentors kind of growing up who were also very just do what makes you happy and you'll find a way to make money. And so I really embraced that cheese, I would say. And so thankfully having that at such a young age, I think really helped me to avoid that kind of like having to go down corridors and feeling like they were dark and scary. And to me, it was just like, oh, cool. This is like another adventure. All right, let's just check it out. Let's see. Okay. And I'll do this and I'll try this out. And I mean, in the beginning, I did have people tell me, well, just stay at one job forever. And so I did that with Red Lobster. It was my first job, and I was there for like 10 years. And then eventually, well, they let me go without telling me after I had my motorcycle accident.
Oh
And I
my
just called one
God.
day and I was like, hey, so I'm cleared to go back to work. Like, so when do I start? What can I start up again? They were like, hey, you don't work here anymore. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I don't find you in the system. I was like, okay, well, cheese has been moved. Well, thank you, and see you never. I'll go find another cheese. Thank you. So that happened. But then I think after that, like I've had so many different kinds of jobs. I've done bartending. I went to a bartending school for a little bit. I never actually finished the certification, but it was enough to let me work at like a catering business for a little bit, doing that and serving as well. And then I also worked at a psych hospital. I joined the military. I did caregiving for a little bit. And so, again, like just a bunch of adventures that I was just like, hey, life is whatever I want it to be, and let's just go with it. And until I land on something that I'm like, yes, this is the thing. This is the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Which kind of did end up kind of being at Disney a little bit, because I was like, yeah, cool, I get to make people happy. I customer service, like I love it. And even when people are like ridiculous or whatever, I learned how to be very understanding. Again, moving like, well, just adjusting the cheese, I guess, and going, well, this cheese, yeah, it might not be as shiny as delicious as I thought it was, but it's fine. I'll make it delicious. Add some seasoning to it or something. I don't know. There's no seasoning in the Who Moved My Cheese book. It's just cheese. Just disclaimer. I don't want to misrepresent the book. So yeah, I think again, like I'm blessed to have had people in my life who are already very just look, just go through the maze. It's fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. Like, okay. And then, but then on that end, like, I don't know if someone had asked me maybe in the beginning of the maze, hey, where do you really want to be at the end of this, and like what does that really look like for you, I think would have helped me to get to the cheese that I wanted a lot sooner. But again, right, then all of the parts of the maze that I did get to experience and adventure through allowed me to appreciate my cheese more, and also allowed me to, I think, really show up for my cheese in the way that I want to, right?
Yeah,
Like the thing that makes us
absolutely.
great life coaches is that we have been through some stuff to be able and come out on the other side of it for the most part, right? And obviously we're still on our journeys and stuff,
Sure.
so there's that. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents on the identity crisis that you gave me.
I mean, it's so real, so real. And I think that that's like the biggest thing I feel like at the end of the day with this book is like change is happening all the time, whether you welcome it or not. So all
Yep.
the time, like you can think that you found the cheese forever, but you're kidding yourself because the cheese is eventually like cheese is not infinite. It's not like it has its capacity and then that's it. And then you shall move on again if you're willing to embrace that or not. And I think like with our modern society, we've just been like totally like we've been tricked into like thinking that things are infinite when they are finite and things come and go. They have beginnings and they have ends. Are you going to embrace that? Are you going to have open arms? Are you going to be like, no, that's not reality. That's not true. Whatever it is. So yeah, I think again, just the sooner you're able to come to terms with change happens all the time, like get on board or be hungry.
Yeah. Or
Essentially.
I mean, even like when people are like, well, look, this cheese is the best cheese you're going to be able to get. So you should
Right.
just be grateful for this
Yes.
cheese. And don't
Yes.
even look because there's no cheese
Anywhere
greater
else.
than this one.
You're crazy to look anywhere else. Oh, I've been told
Yes.
that. When I almost my mom actually, she was the one that was like, "You're stupid for quitting. What are you doing? You're crazy. Why would you do that?" Right? And I was just like, "What?" You know, like this such an important person is like telling me I'm crazy, but I know deep down inside like this is killing me.
Yeah.
This is killing me, you know? And yeah. But here I am. Here I
Yep.
am now.
Gone through the
Doing
maze.
things I never like that old version of myself would have been like, no way, right? They would still be really sad eating lunch in their cubicle for 15 minutes with their togos, you know, like crying instead of having a freaking awesome time reading life-changing books, doing podcasts, like all the things that came about because I made that decision to go into the maze, right? Like how beautiful. So, guys, life is beautiful. Go into the maze. Let us know
Yes.
how it goes. We're here to cheer you on. We're here to write messages up on the walls for you guys. We're here to support you, to celebrate you, to provide little nibbles along the way as much as we can. Because it is not easy. It is challenging, but it is so worth it. So worth it.
Yes. Yeah. Because, man, again, like, I think going back to this book, that you literally just making that initial decision and it being the hardest, but then once you get out into the maze and you realize it's not as scary as you thought it was, or as scary as other people tried to make you think it was because they're afraid you're going to leave. Once you get out there and see the world, like, you're just like, you know what? Like, this is crazy. And again, like, you don't, and I wish someone would have told me this before, but you know, who knows? Maybe things would be different. Just, you don't have to necessarily like completely abandon ship on your cheese, your current one. Like, go look for other cheese while you're with that cheese. Unless you're in a relationship, then, you know, I would not necessarily, I would not say like, hey, you know, go find some other cheese while you're still with your cheese. Like, no, then you need to have like a conversation and figure out why this cheese is moldy. But like for other things like jobs, things like that, where it's like, well, I hate my job now, or this is not fulfilling me. I'm not getting full on this cheese. It smells terrible. I hate it. I never want to eat it again. Okay, well then start that journey of like looking at other jobs, because then you're not looking at it from a place of, oh my God, I have no cheese I need now. You can actually take the time to really inspect other cheeses, making sure other cheeses are actually going to be a good fit for you and that you're actually going to enjoy it. At least that the potential to enjoy it is better than what you have currently, right? And so I guess like another great book that I love is Quit, which I don't know, maybe we'll read that one next, but because I haven't finished it yet. But even in that one, yes, don't accept one cheese. It's not all Gouda.
It ain't all Gouda.
Oh man, that is one sharp cheddar right there. Anyways, all right. I'm surprised I haven't done any
I
like
know
cheese
the
puns
cheese
in this
puns and
thing.
dad jokes have not been too strong today for like
I
how much
know.
they could
It's
be.
just I did say I was cheesy in the beginning.
You did, you
I did.
did.
I did that. But this book, because it's so powerful and it's so
Yeah.
short and so small, but it's so powerful. But you know, like really take that time to inspect the other cheeses. And like I said, so what I was saying is in that book, Quit, she talks about, well, what are the chances that you're miserable now? Then what are the chances that you're miserable if you start this movement and you go out on this new journey? And usually the chances of you being miserable now are 100% because you are miserable. Then when you leave, the chances may be 50-50. I don't know. Maybe it'll be,
Mhm.
well, that's still a 50% chance that you could be having the greatest time of your life. That this could be the dream job, you know, whatever it is. I would say dream relationship, but I'm not telling you to go and, you know, taste other cheeses while you're with your cheese. So, but you know, like do it now
Yep.
when you
Don't
have the
wait.
time and you're not stressed about not having cheese. Because if Hem and Ha had just done like Sniff and Scurry, where okay, they found the cheese and they're like, okay, this is good. You know, enjoy it for a little bit. You know, give it a day or, you know, enjoy it. Enjoy the efforts you've made to get to that point, enjoy it. And then start looking, okay, well, if it's not another job then and you love your job now, then okay, well, what are the next steps? How are you moving up? What's going on there? So you can have a greater impact, get more life fulfillment, things like that. And you know, if you enjoy it and you're just like, hey, like this cheese is good, I like it, cool, great, then just keep an eye on the cheese so that you're making sure that it's not getting moldy and it's not turning into styrofoam and everything is good still. And so that way you're aware, and you know, if you need to leave, then you can start looking for other things, right? So yeah, that it's so powerful, just that initial movement out.
Yeah.
And another thing I wrote here was when we talk about like belief, but it's just again this idea of like just having faith that your path is the right path and just keep growing and learning and taking time to reflect back on your past and the things that have gotten you to the point of where you are now. Because I think what does he said here? He was letting go. Yes. So this is when Ha was going around and it says Ha didn't realize it yet, but he was discovering what nourished his soul. He was letting go and trusting what lay ahead for him, even though he did not know exactly what it was. And that is like, I feel like it's the literal definition of faith, that you just know that even though you can't see it, even though you're not sure 100%, that it is there. Something is there for you and it's waiting for you. You just got to go get it. So that also was just like a huge thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that like he doesn't even know it yet.
Yeah, I
You
loved it. I
know,
was like,
like
"Oh my gosh, this is
yeah.
so good." There's so many good nuggets in here.
I want to
Um,
share one too that I like had highlighted that I feel like is, you know, similar of he had to admit that the biggest inhibitor to change lies within yourself and that nothing gets better until you change. Perhaps most importantly, he realized that there's always new cheese out there whether you recognize it at the time or not, and that you are rewarded with it when you go past your fear and enjoy the adventure. And it's like right there that like going past the fear, enjoying the adventure, that is your like cheese, 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 cheese.
yes,
How powerful. So
yes, it's beautiful.
like opening up your brain to the cheese pun maze. Wow. We'd love to hear from the chat if anyone or from the pod who wants to share their big highlight from today's chat. Would love to hear from you guys. What's something that stood out from you guys, or stood out for you guys, and what is your takeaway? Joohong, anything that stood out for you specifically today?
If you're going to stay with your cheese, if you decide to do that, then it feta be worth it.
Crazy.
You better keep making sure that you check to make sure that it is Gouda,
Oh my
so that
gosh.
way it doesn't turn into a monster. And if it does, then you gotta be kidding me. There we go.
You gotta be
Yes, you
kidding.
gotta be kidding me.
Wow.
So there you go. But truthfully, yeah, like, cause I know, obviously, I mean, I feel like as coaches, we always want people to like achieve their best versions of themselves and all that. And I think we both agree too. Like, look, where you're at in your life, that can be fine too. Like, it's just to make sure then that you are checking in with yourself to make sure that it still does align with what you want and need.
Yep.
Like, if you're in a job or a relationship and you're having to convince yourself that it's a good thing, you probably should do a little bit of rethinking on things and figuring out, doing your values work, figuring out, hey, what's going on? Why does this not feel fulfilling anymore? And
Yeah.
that's all I think we ask. And Kayla, you can add anything to that too. It's just, we want to just make sure that whatever you're doing, you are living your happiest life, whatever that means to you specifically. Because again, just because I like, what is one I like? I like smoked Gouda, actually. Like, just because I like smoked Gouda doesn't mean you're gonna like smoked Gouda. Doesn't mean it's the cheese for you. You got to find your own cheese still, but just making sure that the cheese that you are picking is Gouda for you, and it better be worth it.
Mic drop.
I can't say anything anymore now.
I'm like
That's
totally like caught up. I'm like, yes, yes. And then just like cheese drop.
it. Cheese.
And the cheese. That's incredible. Yeah.
That's
I second the cheese joke. I second the the call to just like really assess whatever cheesy situation you're in. Don't be afraid. Go out on the limb. Have fun. Lean into like one question I wanted to ask was, and I think this would be a great way to wrap up today, would be, what message would you write on the wall? What would be your message?
Be careful of other people's cheese because it might be nacho cheese. That is what I would write on the wall.
Period.
To stay in line with what I've been saying. Like, you just gotta make sure that it is your cheese and nacho cheese. Anyways, that's what I was. What would you write on the
Mine's not quite as punny as yours. I was gonna say to lean into the highs, into all the little bits along the way, and know that like those lows, those dark corridors, and those dead ends are only temporary, and to just know that there's cheese at the end of the tunnel, literally. In this book.
Yes, literally in this book. A ton of cheese. A lot of new cheeses too.
A lot of new cheeses.
And maybe one type of cheese is not enough for you. Maybe you want a bunch of different cheeses.
We
Unless
really
it's about relationships, then that's good. Again, I just want to make sure people understand that we and I are not advocating for you to be partaking in other cheeses in relationships. Yes. Yeah.
Respect and consent are essential here.
Yes. Yes. And if you need help navigating any of that stuff, get with us.
Have consent with all cheeses in these situations.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Life is filled with many Gouda moments.
Many. That's so good.
Yeah. I'm trying to work Brie in here in some way, but for some reason I can't find a way. But
Joohong, all of your puns have been Brie land. Did that land?
Close. It was a stretch. The cheese pull on that was pretty long. All right. Well, with that being said, on that note,
that cheese definitely isn't Kayla's. We're gonna leave that one with Joohong.
We ricotta go, and we will see y'all next week.
See you guys next week. Have a good one.
All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye.